मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल का नहीं पता तो मैं थोड़ा सा बता देती हूँ. Founded in 2009, Malton Women Council is registered non-profit organization based in Malton community of Mississauga. Our mandate is to mentor, motivate, and mobilize women in the community with a vision of empowered women, empowered communities. As a women-centered grassroots organization, we continue to do the ongoing work to increase women's economic security and prosperity, to encourage women's leadership and democratic participation, and to end gender-based inequities. The demographics that we cater to typically comprise of South Asian immigrant women who are experiencing cultural, social, economical, legal, and systematic barriers to realize their full potential and member of the Canadian society. Over the course of last 13 years, MWC has provided opportunities, resources, and a strong platform for women to thrive and excel, to mobilize their skills and experiences in various capacities, and to help them express their talents and abilities to see themselves as leaders. Currently, our programming domain includes holistic health and well-being, information and resource linkages, education and awareness, peer support, civic engagement, cultural connections, intergenerational activities, skill development and training. Women holistic health is our top priority, and under that we have our seniors women as well as men, and we have our program, Seniors Mental Health Awareness Ambassadors Program. And I would like to request Meeta ji to tell more about this program.
So thank you so much, Uzma, for giving this opportunity to talk about such an amazing program. So when you listen to the objectives of Malton Women Council, अभी जो उस्मा ने हमारे सामने दोहराए हैं, मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल को बनाने का मकसद और जो हम काम कर रहे हैं उसमें जब आप सुनते हैं और जो मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल में काम होते हैं, they are so much in unison with each other, so much in sync with each other. Actually, जब किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इस तरह से आपके बारे में सोचा जाता है और काम किया जाता है, तो वहीं पर आपकी मेंटल हेल्थ इम्प्रूव होना शुरू हो जाती है. तो मुझे, अगर मैं टेक्निकल टर्म्स ना भी यूज करूं, मेरे जैसे लोगों को जो मेंटल हेल्थ समझ में ये आती है कि व्हेन यू आर मेंटली एट पीस विद योरसेल्फ एंड योर सराउंडिंग्स, जब हमें अच्छा लगने लगता है सब कुछ अपने आसपास का, और जैसे डॉक्टर खालिद सोहेल यहाँ बैठे हैं, इतनी अजीम शख्सियत, तो उनकी टर्म्स में जब सब कुछ ग्रीन जोन में लगने लगता है तो हम मेंटली हेल्दी हैं या इमोशनली वेल बीइंग में, अपने इमोशनली हम अच्छे हैं, सही हैं, हेल्दी हैं. तो जो सीनियर मेंटल हेल्थ एम्बेसडरशिप प्रोग्राम जिसका कि मुझे भी हिस्सा बनाया गया, I am fortunate to be a part of this program, was aimed at this, especially during COVID. हमने ये देखा कि मेंटल हेल्थ की जो मेजरली मेंटल हेल्थ की बात बहुत ज़्यादा सामने आई, और मेजर इशू जो हमें सीनियर्स के साथ मिलता रहा, जिसको कभी रिकग्नाइज ही नहीं किया किसी ने, कभी किसी ने समझने की कोशिश नहीं की. आइसोलेशन जो है वो अपनी बात को ना कहना, कह पाना या एक्सप्रेस करने के मौके ना मिलना सीनियर्स के लिए वो सबसे बड़ा मेंटल हेल्थ का रीजन रहता रहा है. और बिफोर कोविड थोड़ी बहुत बात होती होगी, पर ये बात उभर के सामने आई ड्यूरिंग कोविड, जब सब लोग अपने घरों में एक दूसरे से जुदा होके बैठे हुए थे और अकेलेपन से जूझ रहे थे, स्पेशली सीनियर्स जिनके पास कुछ भी करने को नहीं था. ऐसी सिचुएशन में मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल का सीनियर्स का SMHAP प्रोग्राम आना एक बहुत बड़ा दिलासा, एक बहुत बड़ा सपोर्ट बना हम सब सीनियर्स के लिए, जो सेशंस, जैसे मैंने तो कुछ सेशंस भी लिए, और जो सेशंस नहीं भी लेते थे, we used to look forward to each other's sessions also. अगर हम लेते भी थे सेशंस तो हम ये सुनने के लिए बैठते थे, एक तो हमें नॉलेज मिल रही है, नए नए टॉपिक्स आ रहे हैं, एंटरटेनमेंट हो रही है, थर्डली हमें ये समझ में आ रहा है कि हम जब एक दूसरे के साथ बैठे हैं तो अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स शेयर कर रहे हैं, अपने इश्यूज बता रहे हैं, और मेडिकल इश्यूज हमारे सभी कितने ही सेशंस जो कि हमारी मेडिकल हेल्थ की, फिजिकल हेल्थ को लेकर के हमारे सेशंस हुए हैं, स्पेशली जो डायबिटीज के को, जो कि सबसे कॉमन इल हेल्थ का जो कारण है हमारी सोसाइटी में, साउथ एशियन लोगों में खास तौर पे, तो उसको लेकर के पूरा का पूरा डिवोटेड सेशंस थे रहे हैं, जिस वजह से हम लोगों को बहुत टिप्स मिलती रही हैं। योगा के टिप्स मिले हैं हमको, मेडिटेशंस हमारे हमने अटेंड की हैं, हमने इमोशनल हेल्थ के सेशंस अटेंड किए हैं, हमने ऐसी ऐसी चीज़ों से हमारी इंट्रोडक्शन हुई है, और आयुर्वेदिक सिस्टम्स ऑफ लिविंग से हमारी छोटी छोटी टिप्स मिली हैं, फूड फूड से कैसे हमने हेल्थ को मेंटेन करना है, ये सब चीज़ें अभी भी हो रहा है, इट्स इट्स कॉन्टिन्यूअस। बट जो ये प्रोग्राम के अंडर हम सब ने हमारी एनलाइटनमेंट हुई है, अपनी फिजिकल, इमोशनल और मेंटल हेल्थ तीनों एस्पेक्ट्स को लेकर के, तो आई एम रियली रियली fortunate. I consider myself fortunate to be a part of this program along with so many others. I'm sure मैं सबके दिल की बात कह रही हूँ, कोई ऐसी मेरे जहन में ऐसी कोई बात नहीं आती कि जिससे लोग इत्तेफाक न रखते हो, अग्री ना करते हो. So I'm really really appreciative of this project. और as far as I'm concerned, मैं अपने लिए तो क्या ही बोलूं, I have flown, grown with Malton Women Council and with this program. I think मेरे जैसे बहुत लोग हैं जिनकी ग्रूमिंग हुई है, groomed also. हमें पता चला है कि घरों में बैठ के क्या क्या, अभी हमने नरिंदर जी की आर्ट देखी. What she's been doing, we never knew. Knitting and painting, and yes, my name needs to be changed. Thank you, Usma. Knitting, painting, and she's singing also. गीता जी को ले लीजिए, गीता जी के पास इतनी नॉलेज का आई मस्ट से भंडार है कि if she starts speaking about any topic, she has so much to share with us. Shanta ji is an example. She's a, what do you say? She's energy personified, enthusiasm personified. अगर हम उनकी बात लेते हैं, जरीना आंटी हमारे सामने बैठे हैं, इतना खूबसूरत एग्जाम्पल है मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोग्राम के बेनिफिशियरी का. कितनी एंथुजियाज्म से वो बैठती हैं, जोश और खरोश से आके अपना बैठी हैं. आज तो हमें पता लगा कि वो डायरी और पेन लेकर भी बैठी हैं. तो जरीना आंटी, आज के नोट्स मुझे बताइएगा जरूर, ठीक है? हम सबके साथ शेयर कीजिए. तो हम जुब्दा को जानते हैं. जुब्दा जैसे जैसे मेरी स्क्रीन पे आ रहे हैं लोग, तो मेरा दिल कर रहा है कि मैं हर एक के बारे में एक एक लाइन बोलूं. तो जुब्दा जब आई थी, उनकी जो लैंग्वेज थी, और जब ये इस प्रोग्राम में ये हिस्सा लेती गई, और उसके बाद की जो लैंग्वेज है, मैं रियली, जमीन और आसमान की बात है. बिल्कुल उतना ही फर्क है उनकी लैंग्वेज में. और लैंग्वेज तो सोच से आएगी ना, जो आप सोचते हैं या महसूस करते हैं, उससे लैंग्वेज आएगी. तो बरिंदर जी हमारे बैठे हैं, बड़े क्वाइट हैं. शी स्पीक्स वेरी लेस, बट द स्माइल ऑन हर फेस टेल्स यू एवरीथिंग. सो काम एंड सरीन. मुझे तो लगता है हमेशा ही ग्रीन जोन में रहते हैं. कंवलजीत जी, अगेन शी इज अ वेरी हाईली नॉलेज्ड पर्सन. उनकी बातें हम सुन सुन के हमें बहुत और अच्छा लगा है हमेशा. शी इज क्वाइट वोकल अबाउट सो मेनी इश्यूज. एंड मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि स्पेशली सीनियर्स के केस में, अगर हम एक्सप्रेस कर लेना अपने मन की बात को, तो वहीं पे हम मेंटली हेल्थी फील करना शुरू करते हैं. जब ये फोरम मिलता है हमें मॉल्टन वुमेन काउंसिल का, तो हम मेंटली हेल्थी फील करते हैं. रिंटू हमारे साथ जुड़ी हैं हमेशा से ही, मेंटल हेल्थ के और भी बड़े सारे प्रोग्राम्स में जुड़ी हैं. उनकी होस्टिंग, उनके एनेक्डोट्स बीच बीच में आते हैं, एंड शी इज बीन hosting so many programs. It is so amazing to see how she's grown up. I mean, of course, in so many aspects of her personality. मुट्टा जी हमारे को दिखते रहते हैं अक्सर बीच बीच में, कभी कभी उनके गाने भी सुनने को मिलते हैं, बड़ा मजा आता है. और सुरजीत जी हमारे इतने फेमस हमारी पोएट हैं पंजाबी की और पूरे इंटरनेशनल लेवल की. उनकी भी हमारे साथ होना, एक उसको पोएटिक एंगल देना, एक कई सेशंस भी उन्होंने लिए हैं और बड़े प्यार से, बड़ी हम्बली वो अपनी ह्यूमिलिटी में बैठ के उन्होंने हमेशा हमारे साथ वो जुड़ी हैं. आई एम सो हैप्पी अबाउट दैट, सो हैप्पी टू बी एसोसिएटेड. एंड उनके साथ मेरी मुलाकात होती है तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है. वी फील सो लकी. और मदन जी, मदन अंकल टू एवरीवन. तो मैंने इनसे पूछा कि आपकी एज कितनी है मदन जी, कि आपको मैं भी मदन अंकल कहूँ. कौन कौन मदन अंकल कहे आप बताइए. तो कहते हैं आप मदन अंकल ही कहिए, सारे कहते हैं तो आप भी कह लीजिए. तो ऑलरेडी उनका ग्रीन जोन बड़ा तगड़ा है, अच्छे ग्रीन कलर अच्छा है उनके जोन का. बट ही इज वेरी ओपन अबाउट बीइंग, वो इतने बड़े स्पीकर भी हैं हमारे, बट उसके अलावा ही इज वेरी ओपन अबाउट हिज ओन कंडीशन. समटाइम्स जब इनके सेशंस हमने अटेंड किए हैं कितने सारे, तो उसमें उन्होंने हमेशा अपने एग्जाम्पल्स दिए हैं, which is so inspiring and motivating. And there are so many other people who are new today. I welcome you all, and I assure you that what I'm saying is each and every word that I just now shared is from the core of my heart and from the deepest of thoughts of my mind. ये कोई भी बनावट नहीं है, कोई भी ऐसी एक सिंगल वर्ड नहीं है जिसको कि मैं शिद्दत से महसूस नहीं कर रही हूँ. एंड मलिका, ऑफ कोर्स समटाइम्स वी गेट टू सी यू, थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग देयर. एंड वो गीता जी को बहुत सपोर्ट करती हैं बीइंग, व्हिच इज सो अमेजिंग अगेन. सो तो मैं ये बता रही थी कि व्हाट एवर आई हैव शेयर्ड हियर इज एब्सोल्यूट ट्रुथ. और मैंने थोड़ा कम बताया है अभी, क्योंकि मैं चाहती हूँ कि लोग एक्सपीरियंस करें खुद भी. यू शुड एक्सपीरियंस योरसेल्व्स कि क्या क्या हमने SMHAP प्रोग्राम में, सीनियर मेंटल हेल्थ जो एम्बेसडरशिप प्रोग्राम, एज एन एम्बेसडर जो मेरी फीलिंग्स हैं, तो मैं कितनी किस लेवल पे अपने आप को महसूस करती हूँ, कुछ वर्ड्स में मैंने एक्सप्रेस किया. आई डोंट think many words, I have many words to express that, though I can go on and on and on. So but I'm sure we all want to listen to Dr. Khalid Sohail, और उन सब को सुनने के लिए हम बैठे हैं. तो वो इतने बड़े, जिसको हम, अगर हम हिंदी की बात करें ना, हिंदी में शब्द आता है, जी शुक्रिया सादिका, तो हिंदी में शब्द आता है प्रकांड पंडित. प्रकांड पंडित का मतलब होता है कि जो बहुत हाईली लर्नेड और क्या कहना चाहिए, बहुत ही पहुंची हुई शख्सियत हैं इस फील्ड की, मेंटल हेल्थ फील्ड की. तो उनसे हम जरूर सुनेंगे जो डॉक्टर खालिद सोहेल से. आई एम श्योर वी ऑल वांट टू लिसन टू हिम. थैंक यू अगेन उस्मा फॉर गिविंग मी दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस प्रोग्राम, to be a part of Malton Women Council. Of course, this is my council, and to be able to say a few words here. I hope I'm doing justice to the feelings of everyone present here who is associated with SMHA. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meeta ji. जिनके नाम के साथ आप MHA देख रहे हैं वो हमारे मेंटल हेल्थ एम्बेसडर्स हैं. They are here. And now I will request Rintu ji to introduce Dr. Khalid Sohail.
थैंक यू सो मच उस्मा. मीता जी ने इतना कुछ कह दिया है कि सबके बारे में कह दिया. अब मेरे को लगता है कि अब उसके बारे में हम बात नहीं करेंगे. हम अब जो हमारा आज का जो मेंटल हेल्थ फोरम है उसके बारे, सीरियस टॉपिक है थोड़ा सा, तो उसके बारे में जरूर बात करेंगे। तो बात करने से पहले मैं एक छोटी सी एक बात करना चाहती हूँ। Who is he? Who is he? He is like a cloud that quenches the thirst and flies away. He is like a cool breeze that fills flowers with fragrance and wanders away. He is like a river that passes through villages and cities, but nobody knows where it comes from and where it goes. He has been appearing unexpectedly and disappearing mysteriously as long as people can remember. Some nights he is found sleeping under a tree. Some mornings he is discovered feeding the birds. Some afternoon he is seen playing with children. Some evenings he is lost watching the sunset. He is old but handsome and graceful. His hair is long and gray. His eyes brown and beautiful. He walks slowly but confidently. He talks less but compassionately. He appears to people when they need him the best. He believes all precious things in life are free, whether sunshine or fresh air, spring water or pure love. He encourages people to follow their dreams. He has no name, no place to live, no relation to anyone. Some call him father, others brother, some friend, others guru. Some believe he is a poet, others a mystic. He is many things to many people. He has been a mystery for generations. He has been mystery for generations. This is Dr. Khalid Sohail.
Wow.
This is Dr. Khalid Sohail. I'm reciting his poetry only. This is his poetry.
Oh, God.
But I relate this poetry to Dr. Khalid Sohail. He is Khalid Sohail. Dr. Khalid Sohail is the founder of Green Zone Philosophy, a poet and author of more than 70 books on philosophy, psychology, literature, and science. Just wow. He is a columnist and has published more than 500 columns on online magazine Hum Sab. And since December 2022, he has become an influencer on social media. His first TikTok video has been seen by more than 80,000 people. Wow. I'm also a keen follower of Dr. Khalid Sohail's TikTok. For the past 40 years, he is working as psychotherapist as well as a leader of mental health team in Ontario and other provinces in Canada. In the last few decades, Dr. Sohail has been presenting Green Zone workshops, seminars, and lectures in person as well as through virtual meetings. People from around the world have participated and benefited from those presentations. Yes, true, very true. We, the ambassadors, were fortunate to learn and receive trainings on Green Zone philosophy from Dr. Khalid Sohail, and these trainings are life changers for most of our ambassadors in South, this mental health awareness project. 3 cheers for Dr. Khalid Sohail. So I welcome from the core of my heart, Dr. Khalid Sohail, for being in Multi Women Council, in Mental Health Forum. We are so lucky to have you. We are so lucky to have you. Today's topic is very serious. I know. What is mental health? What is mental health illness? This session will be in 2 parts. First is what is mental health and what is mental health illness, and the other part is emotional problems of immigrants and psychotherapy. So मैं आप सबके बीच में नहीं रुकती और मैं डॉक्टर खालिद सुहेल से ही कहूंगी, गुजारिश करूंगी कि वो आज का टॉपिक जो है मेंटल हेल्थ फोरम का वो स्टार्ट करें। तो मैं सिर्फ एक बात पूछना चाहती हूँ कि आप क्वेश्चन जो हैं वो आप बीच में लेना चाहेंगे या पार्ट के एंड में, जो फर्स्ट पार्ट खत्म होगा तो उसके बाद हम क्वेश्चन आंसर करेंगे, या बीच में अगर कोई हैंड रेज करता है तो जी डॉक्टर सुहेल।
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much,
Rintuji, it's a new experience. Somebody reciting my poem to me, but it sounded wonderful because you read it with so much affection and passion.
Thank you, sir.
Meetaji had such words that are more like flowers than words. Jaise moti bakherte hain. So I think with Malton Women's Council, all of you, Meetaji, Rintuji, Uzma, Aziz, all of you, I came to you people. I think that was also a Friday evening when Hafsa Takdees invited me. So Friday seems to be sort of that connecting point with you. And the best compliment I can say is that when I'm with you people, I feel at home. And I think when you feel at home,
Thank you.
that's as far as the questions, I think it would be better that I'll speak for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then I leave the 10 minutes after that. So whether people have given you the questions or they can raise hands. So we'll have that. So 20 minutes of my talk, then 10 minutes question answer. Then I'll talk again for maybe 15 minutes about immigrants and mental health. And then we have another 10-15 minutes. So in that way, I'll get a chance to speak, and then you people can have a chance to ask questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sohail. Ji, Uzma, आप कुछ कहना चाह रही हैं?
I request everybody to put their mic on mute.
Yeah. Ji, Dr. Sohail.
Okay, so thank you very much. You see, this topic of mental health and mental illness is a very wide subject. This is a topic where we can have the whole series. I can talk for hours and we can have half a dozen sessions. But I thought I'll pick some very salient features so that you have some idea of a broader perspective, what I consider important about mental health, what is important that we feel about mental illness. So just to give you a broader picture. So let me start with who is the person that we would consider mentally healthy? That's a very important question, because to me, health is more than absence of illness. That if somebody is not mentally ill, that does not necessarily mean that he's mentally healthy. In the same way, if somebody is not unhappy, that does not mean that he's happy. So happiness or health has some positive characteristics rather than absence of negative characteristics. So I think, so it's very difficult sometimes to define. So let me make a reference to two people that started, I feel, in the mental health field in the 20th century. One was Sigmund Freud and one was Harry Stuck Sullivan. When somebody asked Freud, what is your definition of a mentally healthy person? Freud said to his students, a person who can work and a person who can love. So work is the productivity that you contribute to the society, whether you are a school teacher or whether you are a mother at home, whether you are a businesswoman or whether you are sort of a lawyer, whatever you're doing to the community that you are contributing, that is we call as work. At the same time, he said the person is able to love. That means he or she is able to make significant connections with other people. He has that affection and caring and warmth and compassion. So these are the things that we feel are the positive characteristics of somebody who is mentally healthy. The other person who is not as well known, Freud was European in Vienna, and Harry Stuck Sullivan was an American psychotherapist. He's not that well known because he was a very shy kind of a person, and he wrote in a very difficult language so that people did not understand fully. When he was asked about mental health, he said the mental health of a person can be assessed by the mental health of his or her relationships. The healthier somebody's relationships in the family, at work, in the community are, the more healthy that person is. He was making that connection that our mental health, individuals' mental health, is very much connected with the social environment, the people that in my language, we call family of the heart. So the more people have a family of the heart and have good connections, the way you people have created in Malton Women Council. That's a good example of your connections with each other. That helps you stay mentally healthy. It helps you stay creative. It helps you grow. So this is part of the mental health. Now coming to mental illness, you see mental illness in some communities is still a stigma. Nobody wants to talk about it. It is sort of, I would feel, a taboo, because, and that is why in many Eastern languages, we don't even have the words. And the words are very sort of very insulting. Oh, pagal ho gaya hai. Oh, livanna ho gaya hai. You know, is tarah ki baatein hain that are not very respectful. So science teaches us to have a classification. So in the Western world, they did the classification of how one person with emotional problems is different. So because the time is short, I will only mention 3 groups. One group we consider of people with anxiety disorders. The example of anxiety disorders will be a panic disorder. What is a panic disorder? One of my patients had gone to America for shopping. In the middle of shopping, while he was in the grocery store, you know, suddenly he felt his heart was beating fast. He was shaking and shivering. He was sweating, and he felt that he was going to have a heart attack. He really got scared. He called his wife who was doing shopping and he said, I am going to die here. They called the ambulance. He was taken to the hospital. They did all the tests and told him his heart was normal, his blood was normal. He was not having a heart attack. He was having a panic attack. So the symptoms of panic attack were something similar to a heart attack, although it was not heart attack. But this fear, you see, this fear is part of the anxiety. Now that he had once the attack, he has this fear. I might have another one. What happens if I'm driving? What happens when I'm visiting somebody? You know, some people then have to go to the washroom. You know, I'm just giving you an example of this one condition, one group of conditions that we call anxiety disorders. So these anxiety disorders are again of different categories: generalized anxiety disorder, you know, panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, but they're all part of the anxiety disorders. And when we try to understand them, we see that there are different kinds of anxiety. You know, some people say that anxiety is the fear of the unknown. Sometimes you don't know. You're just anxious. If you ask the person, what are you anxious about? They cannot tell you. They're just worried, but they do not tell you exactly what they're worried about. They cannot feel at ease. They're restless. It's like a restless road. It's like a Mercury. If you've seen Mercury, it sort of moves around, you know. So an anxious person cannot sit still. There is an inner restlessness. They are moving around. But if you ask them what is the problem, they can't tell you. And the reason they cannot tell you is some of these conditions are unconscious. So there is a fear underlying their conscious mind they are not even fully aware of. It is a fear of death. Is it a fear of illness? It is a fear of losing control. Is it a fear of being, losing a loved one? But they have this anxiety, this fear, you know. Sometimes the anxiety becomes very concrete. Then we call it a phobia. In the phobia, you are clear. Somebody is afraid of dogs. There's a dog phobia. There is a claustrophobia. There is agoraphobia. Some people are afraid of closed spaces. Some people are afraid of open spaces. They cannot go for shopping. I have a patient, she was housebound for 6 months. She will not answer the phone. She will not open the door. She would have her husband to bring her to my clinic. She could not travel. And now after 2 years of therapy, she lives in quite far away, and she travels 2 hours to come to see me. And I tell her, you know, that you can have a Zoom session. But she says, no, coming for 2 hours driving is part of my therapy, because now I can drive and I can come to see you. That's like a progress that she could come to see me in person. These are the anxiety disorders. The second ones are more serious than anxiety disorders, that we call personality disorders. Personality disorders are more destructive psychologically to the person and to other people than anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorder is limited to the person. They are not hurting anybody else. They are just scared. They're just nervous. You can reassure them. But these personality disorders are more complicated because these people have self-destructive tendencies. They gradually become their own worst enemy. You know, Now, examples of that will be, you might have heard somebody is suffering from borderline personality disorder. Somebody suffering from psychopathic personality disorder. Some are suffering from schizoid personality disorder. These personality disorders are long-term. These people suffer for a long time. And when they become destructive, how they are destructive? They can be destructive. For example, they get into addictions. They might be drinking a lot of alcohol. They might be taking a lot of drugs because they want to numb themselves. I call alcoholism and drug addiction as a chronic suicide. They are basically killing themselves slowly, bit by bit. They don't even realize. Gradually, I've met many alcoholics. They develop a fatty liver. They develop, cirrhosis of liver. They start throwing up blood. They have all kind of, they started having epileptic fits. They have all kind of, and what happens then? They become destructive to their dear ones. They start pushing their wives, their husbands, because they are so unwell. They become angry. They become abusive. They become, violent. And they push people away, the people who love them, who care for them. They push them so much away. They lose their job, they lose their marriage, they lose their car, they lose their license, they lose their house, because they're spending all that money on alcohol or drugs. I'm just giving you one example of personality disorder. And the borderline personality disorder or psychopathic personality disorder, most psychiatrists, most mental health professionals actually do not want to work with them because they can be very difficult. They're very challenging to work with. We have a lot. One of the reasons of my leaving Whitby Psychiatric Hospital was that I could work with some of these people with personality disorders. So in my clinic, I have quite a number of young women who suffer from borderline personality because they need long-term care. It is not a care of 1 month or 2 months. With some of them, I worked for 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. Gradually, you develop a relationship with them and work slowly, work with the family. So I'm just giving you an example of how personality disorders are far more self-destructive, at the same time are destructive to their families, to their work, to their community. They start doing things that are antisocial. They become destructive. These many teenagers, they start acting out. They might go and break windows or, hurt other people. So this is a different category of emotional problems that we call personality disorders. The third one is called psychotic disorders. These are even more difficult than personality disorders, because a personality disorder person still are able to work and socialize. But when somebody has a psychotic disorder, it becomes so severe that they need to be hospitalized sometimes. They have to be in a psychiatric hospital. The example that you might have heard the name schizophrenia. You might have heard the word bipolar disorder. You might have heard the word, paranoid disorder. What happens is that these people in mental illness lose their ability to appreciate reality. The symptoms might be, for example, they have unusual experiences, abnormal experiences. They might hear voices that we call auditory hallucinations. They might start seeing things that we call visual hallucinations. They get paranoid. They think people are against them. They cannot go out. They think police is after them, the neighbor is after them, they have enemies, they think somebody is doing this jadoo on them, so they get very, all this paranoid about people. I met a husband. He asked me to admit him to the mental hospital, and I said, why? He said, my wife wants to kill me. I said, how do you know? He said, in the morning when she goes to work, she closes the bottle of jam. And this morning she left it open. So because he left the bottle of jam open, that means this jam has poison in it. And if I eat it, so I'm going to die. So please admit me. So they start mistrusting their own dear ones. And that's a very serious kind of a condition when you have a psychotic disorder. Then they have a serious depression. So depression, clinical depression, psychotic depression, they become suicidal. I've met many people, they had these sort of plans to take overdose, to jump from a bridge, to take the car. And, then the opposite of that depression is mania. They get manic. They have high energy, so much energy, they don't sleep for days. And then they would do things that are very, very irrational. One of my patients, when he was in a manic state, he was picked up by the police because he was in Markham. He went to the fire department, took the fire truck and started driving on 401 on the wrong side. That's so abnormal and so irrational. So I'm saying is that these conditions, the psychotic disorders, are the most sort of troublesome, because once somebody is psychotic, it is not for a day or two. Somebody could have a schizophrenic psychotic episode for months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. The same way they can be depressed for months, and otherwise they might be okay. They have this condition. They would say, oh, you have a beautiful wife, you have a nice house, you have a nice job, you have a nice car. Why are you still depressed? So it is not just a psychological part. It is the psychotic disorder. Now I want to connect that with the reasons, with the causes, what causes all these conditions. So we put them in 3 categories. The first category is the biological factors. In the biological factors, we have the genetic factors. So if there is a history of mental illness, if there's a history of bipolar disorder, if there is a history of schizophrenia, you can inherit the gene of the person. Now, because we are having a very open and honest discussion here, my father had a episode when I was 10 years old. I saw my father had a psychotic episode. My uncle suffered from depression. So my father's side has this genetic sort of predisposition, and that was one of the reasons I did not have children, because I knew that if I have 4 children, 2 of them will suffer from mental illness. Although we also know now that this gene of the mental illness also is some connection with the creativity. So many of people who have sort of these conditions, bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, many of them also have a creative element. They are artists, they are musicians, they are philosophers, they are dancers, they are singers. So it's a very complex sort of a situation that children can inherit the genes of mental illness. The second part is the psychological factors. So after you are born with a certain thing, like people have physical conditions, like people can born with a gene of high blood pressure or diabetes or many things that run in the families. Then they grow up in that environment, in the family. So the psychological factors are of the social environment in the family, personality, what type of personality they develop. One example of that personality could be somebody could have a perfectionistic, idealistic personality that we call obsessive compulsive personality. These people have very high expectations from themselves, from their dear ones, and from life. And because they have high expectations, many times they're not realistic. So then they get disappointed. And when they get disappointed, then they become depressed. So we connect how the personality is connected with people with emotional problems. And the third factor are the social factors. Social factors in the family, social factors at work, social factors in the community. And if these people are not accepted, these people are not respected, then they start to have emotional problems. I'll pursue that more in the second part when I'm talking about immigrants and emotional problems. But just to give you an idea that people with emotional problems can have biological factors, the genetic, congenital, and biochemical. They have psychological factors, personality factors. They have social factors, family, community, culture. Based on that, when we diagnose someone, then we ask ourselves as a psychotherapist, as a psychiatrist, that what percentage of this person's condition is biological, what percentage is psychological, and what percentage is social. And based on that, we create a therapy program. For biological factors, you need medications. So there are medications for anxiety, there are medications for depression, there are medications for schizophrenia. So there are antipsychotics, there are antidepressants, and anti-anxiety. Then psychological factors, we prescribe them individual therapy, individual counseling, individual, and then for the social factors, we prescribe them marital therapy, group therapy, family therapy. So we create, in our clinic, we call it a combination therapy. The combination therapy is a combination of individual, marital, family, and group therapy. We provide them The room that I'm sitting in, it has about 12 chairs. That's before COVID, we used to do a group therapy. And now we do it on the Zoom. So the idea to give you is that there are 3 types of mental illnesses: anxiety disorders, second is personality disorders, third are psychotic disorders. 3 types of causes: biological factors, psychological factors, and social factors. And 3 types of treatment: medications, individual therapy and education, and group therapy and family therapy. So this is a comprehensive way to give you an idea that when we see somebody from a mental health professional, we are not only interviewing the person, I interview the parents, the children, the family, the spouse. We get history from their families. I invite some of the friends to get a global picture of the person, so that when you are creating a therapy program, it will be in different stages. One type is crisis intervention. You only see somebody for 6 sessions, 8 sessions, they go home and they're okay. Second is short-term therapy, that is for a few months. And there is a long-term therapy with personality disorders that can go on for 5, 10, 15 years. So tailoring the therapy according to the needs of the person, and it can change. It can change from individual to marital to family, depending on where the person is. So I just want to give you an overall picture that mental illness, emotional problems is a very complex, very complicated situation, and one needs to have a very good training and background to diagnose, to assess, to treat, so all this. So each one of that, in reality, one can, if I had like 9 sessions, I can then work. Each session can focus just on anxiety disorders, second on personality disorders, on psychotic disorders. Because there is of the limited time, I just wanted to give you a broader picture, an overview picture, like a telescopic view, so that you can ask some questions. So let me stop here and take a few questions from you people, so that, or the comments that you want to have. So back to Rintu ji.
थैंक यू सोहेल। मेरे को लगता है कि अब जब इतने क्वेश्चन हुए हैं तो सबको आंसर मिल गए होंगे। तो हम डॉक्टर सोहेल, अब हम पार्ट 2 पे चलते हैं, इमोशनल प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ इमिग्रेंट्स एंड साइकोथेरेपी। जी।
तो जैसे मैंने पहले कहा कि दिस टॉपिक इज आल्सो बिग एंड one can have the whole series on that, but for you people I'll just try to summarize. Immigrant is the person who was born in one culture and then he goes to another culture. So before we discuss the immigrants' problems, we need to understand sort of different cultures in the world. There are some democratic cultures, there are some autocratic cultures, there are some secular cultures, there are some religious cultures, there are some matriarchal cultures, there are patriarchal cultures. The question is, why would somebody leave their family, leave their community, leave their culture and go to somewhere else? So I'm going to just give you a little bit of history so that you know how in mental health this whole situation came. In 1850, 150 years ago, there was an article that was published. It was titled "On Insane Foreigners." That was the title. And the psychiatrist said that in mental asylums in America, they found out that the number of immigrants in mental asylums in America were far more than the local people. So they started wondering, why are immigrants more in mental hospitals? So they developed 2 hypotheses. One was the stress of migration hypothesis, that people, when they migrate into a different culture, into a different language, in different culture, they get very stressed. And because of that stress, they have a breakdown. That was one hypothesis. The second hypothesis was self-selection hypothesis. That hypothesis said that these people who migrate, they're abnormal to start with. No normal person will migrate. So if they're migrating, that means they have problems with their family and the community, they're misfits there. So already are abnormal, and that's why they're migrating. So these were the 2 hypotheses that 150 years ago. Then fast forward 1932, in Odegaard was one person. He was from Norway, and he also felt that Norwegian people in America has more problems than the local Americans. And then he said that these Norwegians who migrated, they were not even fit in their own culture. Even in Norway, they were misfits. So he he was in favor of the self-selection hypothesis, that when people say that these immigrants are having problems, he felt that these people would have problems even if they did not migrate. So migration got blamed for their emotional problem. They would have been in a psychiatric hospital even in Norway. So that was in 1932. Then in 1937, a Stonequest was a guy. He developed a concept of a marginal man, that many of these immigrants are marginal people. They do not fit in. They do not fit into their own culture, and they do not fit into the culture they go. They are sort of like gypsies. They are like, they are a loose cannon. They are just moving around, sort of, they do not belong anywhere. So he called them a marginal man. And then I think the real studies came in 1960s and 70s. There was a research worker called Murphy. He did a lot of research. He said, this is not a good question, whether they're self-selection or stress. He said, we should focus on the conditions. The same immigrant in one condition could have more problems, in another condition will have less problems. Give you an example. An immigrant comes from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, anywhere. If he comes to Toronto or to Montreal or to Vancouver, let's suppose there's a Sardarji comes to Canada and he goes to BC and he has all these Sardarjis around, then he's in a different environment. But if he goes to a small town in Newfoundland where there's no other Pakistani or Indian or whatever, then the process is different. So that is one example, that people going to small rural areas in Canada have a very different psychological struggle than coming to the big cities where there is a lot of community, there's a lot of language, culture, those kind of. This is sort of a one factor. The second factor about emotional problems is whether these people came by force. I call them the suffering group. The example will be the refugees. If the refugee from Syria or Ukraine coming to Canada has a very different psychology as compared to a student who comes to Toronto to go to the university and have a PhD and have a master's and for higher education. These students have a very different makeup. They have a very different expectations, and they have a very different experience of Canada or England or America because they came to empower themselves, educate themselves. They are, I call them, adventurous group. This adventurous group has far better outcome than the suffering group who are the refugees. The third factor is that the immigration process is not just you came to Canada or to America or to England or to Russia. It goes through different phases. The first phase is the survival phase. You want to get a place to live, you have a job, and many people I know who have university degrees, they were professors in Pakistan or India, but their PhD in Urdu or Hindi or in literature is not recognized. I know many doctors, they became taxi drivers, they became security officers. So that is where the social factor of self-esteem, they became very depressed because of their status. Like they were big celebrities, they were big professors. People would come and get autograph from them in India or Pakistan. After coming to Canada, they think that they're nobodies. Like, nobody knows them, nobody respects them. If they were in Lahore or in Delhi, people will know them on the street. They say, oh, he's an artist. I'll give you a personal example. When I was in India, in Delhi, Jamia Millia, I went there to give a lecture and I saw a big statue of Khalid. It is such a beautiful statue in Delhi. I've never seen a better statue of Khalid. So I asked people, who is the creator of this? And they said there is a guy, an artist called Yangu Verma. I heard the name Yangu Verma. He was a celebrity in India. Like he knew Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. They were like a family thing. And then I came to Canada, and one day I found this very, very sort of a poor man, a person who was very sort of struggling financially, emotionally, socially. Somebody introduced me and I met him and I said, I'm Dr. Sohail. And this guy said, I'm Yangu Verma. This man in Mississauga living in a small basement apartment, really, really struggling. And I said, you're the same Yangu Verma who created the statue of Ghalib? And he said, yes. He was very affectionate to me, and he would invite me and we will have dinner together. But that was just one example how these big celebrities come to a different country and they just cannot make it, So the success in North America or in Europe or in any Western world depends, number one, on language. So if luckily in Canada and America, we know English and we grew up, we were British colony, so we are more familiar with English. If you go to Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, people have to learn another language. You have to learn Norwegian and Swedish and all that to be part of the culture. The second phase is the socializing phase. In that phase, you now have to earn a living. You have to work and you have to socialize. What kind of clothes you wear, what kind of a food you eat, what kind of a people you socialize. And some of the people here in Canada, if they are very religious, they might have problems with Christmas and Easter and, all kind of celebrations. That is the second phase. Then the third phase that I call is the integration phase. Now you start meeting people, you get married, you buy a house, you have children, you have family, and then you invite your parents to Canada. So now we have 3 generations living in the same house. And even my sister who was visiting last month, she was struggling because her granddaughter does not speak Urdu and she does not speak English. So how do you communicate with your own grandchild because there is a language barrier? So I'm just painting a picture that we say immigrants, but there are many types of immigrants. There are immigrants who are refugees, there are immigrants who are students, there are immigrants who are just arrived and they're struggling with the survival things, and there are immigrants who are here for 50 years and now all their dear ones are in Pakistan and all they attend is the funerals and the weddings, and they go back to India or Pakistan for special occasions, but they do not have and that is why when we created this Family of the Heart, or you're creating this Malton Women Council, is to provide an environment where the religion, the culture, the language, the gender, the profession, you rise above it and you just hold each other's hands and you support each other and give each other some kind of a skills, whether it is a language skill, whether it's a computer skill, whether it's a social skill. These are the life skills to become more successful in the new country, in the new culture. And now coming to the emotional problems, the issue is that people who are immigrants, when they have a problem, when they have anxiety disorder, when they have panic disorder, when they have depression, when they have psychosis, when they are schizophrenic, it becomes a problem. Not only a problem for the therapist, it also becomes a problem for the police. The police goes there and does not understand the language. So, and then there was misunderstanding and there were shootings and all that because, so now the police is recognizing that there should be a mental health, education for the police officers. They should take somebody who speaks the same language. They should take somebody with them, a social worker who is of that background, of that culture or that language, Even when I took my sister to the airport, she was on a wheelchair and the woman first did not speak Urdu or Hindi so then we got a person who could speak Urdu to help her go through the customs and all that. So what has happened is over the decades that in many hospitals now there are multicultural, multilinguistic teams. There could be a psychiatrist and there is a social worker and a nurse and a psychologist from different cultures, different languages, so that we have a team so that we can provide the service, that is customer, the client friendly, so that we can provide the service to the best of our ability. So while we encourage the immigrants to learn English, learn French, learn the local language, we also encourage the professionals or the hospitals or the clinics to have that kind of a service on call, that if they need a sort of a counselor or an interpreter or a translator of that language, it could be Pashto, it could be Punjabi, it could be, so the translators need to be aware of the mental health some concept so that they can translate it properly. When you say somebody's paranoid or somebody has delusional or hallucinations or suicidal, they need to know how equipped with that kind of a culture. So what happens is that there are services that are geared towards immigrants and there are services that are mainstream. The dilemma becomes in psychotherapy is what culture is the patient and what culture is the therapist. So I can give you 3 examples. The therapist could be a white man or woman, and the patient could be black or brown or yellow or whatever. That's one situation. The second is that the therapist, I'm brown, I'm from Pakistan, and 90% of my patients are white, so they see me and they get help, so for them, because I speak English, it is not an issue whether I am from Pakistan or I'm from, from Canada, and the third factor is whether there is a gender bias. So some women, they want to see women as therapists. They want to see women of their own culture. So these are the subtle things I think we should be aware to see what kind of clinic it is, what kind of a hospital it is, what background the therapist is, what background the client is. Ideally, they should feel comfortable. They should feel the connection so that they can do real work, because the patient has to respect the therapist, has to trust the therapist. If you're not trusting your doctor, not trusting your nurse, your social worker, then it is hard to get help. So I encourage, I have written, I can show you people 2 books today, and so that you know the type of work I've done. One is called From the Mental Illness Point of View. I show you this called Encounters with Depression. So any person who wants a copy, they can email me and I can send them a PDF copy as a gift of Encounters with Depression. That I have on PDF. The other book I don't have on PDF about immigrants is called From One Culture to Another. This artist made a maple leaf with a Sindhi cap. I used to wear a cap, Sindhi cap, and he took the Sindhi image and made the maple leaf. I don't have on PDF file, but I can donate as a gift to Rintuji and Malton Women Council. I can give to your library, and then anybody, any of your members can, so I can send you a copy as a gift. The other one, anyone can send me an email and I can send them a copy as a gift, as a PDF file. So I think because the time is very short, I just want to summarize, because this can also go on for an hour. It's a long lecture. So let me leave it here so that we have a few minutes for some questions. Rintuji.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sohail. Well explained, actually. तो कोई किसी का क्वेश्चन है इसके बारे में? If anyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Sohail. आपने इतने छोटे टाइम में आपने इतना कुछ बताया हम लोगों को कि हमारे अंदर जज्ब करने के लिए थोड़ा सा टाइम चाहिए. तो अब हमारे पास कुछ हमारे जो कुछ मेंटल हेल्थ अवेयरनेस एम्बेसडर्स और कुछ हमारे जो रेगुलर अटेंडीज हैं, इस प्रोग्राम को अटेंड करते हैं, जो है मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए हम लोगों ने प्रोग्राम्स किए, तो कुछ उनके टेस्टिमोनियल्स हैं. तो हम 2-2 मिनट के लिए सबसे पहले मैं शांता जी से बोलूंगी कि शांता जी आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sohail, to bringing us so much of knowledge, which just Rintuji said, that it's hard to absorb everything. First of all, Malton Women's Council, I would like to thank them, particularly Uzma, for having me as an ambassador, and I'm not a regular member of Malton Women Council, and this has this mental health awareness has brought me to see so many different kind of people. That itself mentally rejuvenated me. Rather than I try to conduct any program, they taught me a lot, all of you, and I would be very, very thankful to all of you for having me as an ambassador, and this definitely helped. And I'm always trying to be in green zone, Dr. Sohail. I try my best. That has helped in my personal life also a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shantaji. Thank you so much. So next is Narindarji. Narindarji is our regular attendee. So yes.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, especially Dr. Sohail. Actually, I am attending these programs from very beginning. During COVID, when they said there were lockdowns and all people were shut down in their houses. So it became very difficult for everybody to pass that time. luckily about these different community centers, they are, you can say clubs, they started these virtual programs. And we were so very, very, very happy just to share our views with each other. And these in charge of these centers or community centers, they started giving very nice programs. So that we maybe share each other, tell each other what are our problems. They started teaching. In the beginning, we were got the entertainment also. We were singing about passing time up to 11 o'clock in the night. After that, they started giving education about health, about mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. So different healths was discussed. For this spiritual health, they started yoga and exercises. Very good persons were invited, ladies invited. Then for this, you can say this mental health, they have started the program. Physical health, they are calling different types of the doctors for different diseases. And they are bringing their nurses. They are telling the reasons of different diseases, their symptoms, and their cure, how we can cure them, and they can help us. So we got a lot of knowledge about this. Different type of nurses came here. And a common diseases they discuss, for major diseases also, so that we can contact them whenever we are in need or this. Then they kept us happy also by doing some programs like this. You can say art, craft. We learned so many things. You see this, one of the center, they sent, mostly centers, they were used to send us the different materials for the program. And there was a program, they told us to make these masks. See, you don't know what is behind it. But if you remove the curtain, you see, this person had two type of intentions. This side is serious, or this side is laughing. And I made so many, not only one. After that, we shared our talents. You see, what is this? How to use your different things. This is only a oil paint. And I made it this, see, this is elephant.
Thank you.
And this is only planter. Not decoration piece, planter. We can plant. I made so many, and I have planted the plants also. And see this one. What is this? This is juice bottle. And I made it big. And this is also planter.
Good.
I made so many different types of the planters. Some are just like ducks and other things. They look very pretty. Now you will say, their legs are made of these bottles which doctor gave you for medicine. These are the legs. I placed four bottles.
So, thank you so
and
much.
Then I became to know how to do different things. They have started their many program sessions in series. Previously, they started on abuses, family abuses, and gender differences, equality of women and men. And after that, this latestly now, they have started the mental health series. And that is coming and it gave us a lot of knowledge, especially today. And you have opened our minds.
Thank you so much.
We are thinking about this.
Yeah.
We came with these programs, we are getting a lot of knowledge. And I'm very thankful that these programs, virtual programs, should not be stopped. They should be continuous. One thing I want to show you, this is pistachios shell. I
Pistachio.
made it. See now.
Yes.
Dr. Sir, you can see she's so talented.
Yeah,
Pistachio
These are
shell.
pistachio shells.
amazing, amazing. I should start saving my shells.
True. Okay.
Thank you so much, Narinder Aunty.
Thank you so much.
This should be continued. This should not be stopped. I never sit idle. I am doing something or other. Daily, you will find me always busy. Only yesterday I finished my this, you can say, shawl. Only yesterday.
So beautiful, beautiful.
If you come to my house, I will show you. But a lot of knowledge is given by this virtual program. I'm very, very thankful to you, all of you.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
enjoy all the programs.
Thank you so
Narinder
much,
ji,
Narinder Aunty.
always
Thank you.
be in green zone. Always
Oh,
be positive.
I am all ready because I am connected with Dr. Sohail. I have read that book. That book is with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Perhaps
Narinder ji.
he has forgotten, but I don't remember him.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
Narinder
you.
Aunty.
He is
Thank
full
you.
of energy. So
I am full
now,
of energy and always ready to do anything.
okay. नरिंदर जी ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੀ
I know, अब मुझे भी नींद आ रही है.
हाँ तो thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I wish this program should go like this,
Thank you.
giving us knowledge.
Thank you. So our next speaker is Brinder ji. Brinder ji, मेरे को पता है Brinder ji वैसे भी थोड़ी बात करती हैं, पर मैं अब बता दूं जो दो लोग रह गए हैं तो उनके लिए मतलब 2 मिनट है, क्योंकि डॉक्टर साहब के लिए हमने 8 बजे बोला था, 8:30 होने को है, तो हम 8:30 बजे तक, मैक्सिमम 8:30 बजे तक, सॉरी, हम बंद कर देंगे.
No, it's, I understand. I just want to thank Dr. Sohail for such a wonderful session. It was really amazing session and eye-opening.
Yes.
And so grateful to Uzma and team MWC for having these Zoom sessions. And really, especially after COVID, during COVID, these were the sessions kept us going. We didn't go into depression. A lot of people I know went into depression during these times. And in fact, after seeing these sessions, I've helped them out.
Thank you.
And really, really grateful. And please keep on going. I haven't met you all personally, but I feel you are my dear ones. Immense gratitude, Uzma and team MWC. Thank you, all the ambassadors, Vintu ji, Mrita ji, and everybody else. If I forget the names, I'm really grateful to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brinder ji. Thank you so much.
Brinder ji, you can meet everybody, including Dr. Khalid Sohail, on March 12th.
Yes, I will definitely try. I'm looking forward and
We are
hopefully
waiting
I'll
for
make
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Keksha, are you there? Keksha is one of our ambassadors. Keksha? No. So, Madan ji, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
जी हाँ, पहले तो डॉक्टर साहब का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. डॉक्टर साहब जो आज आपने बताया, सिखाया, वो तो 80 साल में मैंने नहीं सीखा. जो आज सीखा है. और उससे ये है कि अभी आपने देखो, आपका जो है, जो आपने चेंज किया है कम्युनिटी में, जहाँ लोगों में, उसका थैंक्स टू मॉडर्न वुमेन्स काउंसिल को जाता ही है. लेकिन नरेंद्र जी ने क्या क्या बता दिया, कितनी क्रिएटिविटी है. मैं कहता हूँ अगर हर कोई ऐसा क्रिएटिव बन जाए तो मेरे का डिप्रेशन रहेगा ही नहीं.
बिल्कुल.
और दूसरी बात आपने डॉक्टर साहब कही कि कल्चर चेंज की, स्पेशली मैं कहूँगा, ये मेरी सजेशन है मॉडर्न वुमेन्स काउंसिल के लिए, ऐसे प्रोग्राम जो हमारे नए बच्चे स्टूडेंट बन के आते हैं, जहाँ पर जो खुदकुशियां कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए कुछ किया जाए.
बिल्कुल.
और लास्टली जो आपने कहा, मैं ये अभी मेरे सामने है दूसरे कंप्यूटर पर, बिजी रखने के लिए उसमें लिखा है कि बिलियनियर जिमी पैटिसन is 94 years old. अब उसको काम करने की जरूरत है बिलियनर को 94 में. He is working every day.
Yeah.
I have it on my other computer, this my email.
Mm.
So keeping yourself busy is one way or part of that to keep yourself mentally and physically healthy. उसका मैं आपको श्रेय आपको देता हूँ और थैंक करता हूँ. आप तो नॉलेज के समुंदर हैं सोहेल साहब. आप ऐसे हमें थोड़ा थोड़ा तिपका निकालने दीजिए.
और आप मोहब्बत का समंदर है.
क्या बात है.
थैंक यू जी.
थैंक यू सो मच मदन जी. थैंक यू सो
मदन
मच.
अंकल,
सॉरी
मदन अंकल, मैंने आपका पहला और थर्ड पॉइंट नोट कर लिया, सेकंड नहीं मैंने सुना. ठीक है, ताकि मैं थोड़ा सा सो सकूं.
ठीक है. मेरे को लगता है
just 2 seconds. Just
no.
Uzma, should I let them know about the great news that we have got?
Malika, let us finish this.
Okay, because I wanted to share so that we'll have more.
We are just finishing it.
Okay, ठीक है.
मैं हफ्सा को ढूंढ रही थी. हफ्सा शायद निकल गई. मैंने कहा था मैं हफ्सा को बड़े आराम से प्यार से उसको बोलूंगी कि हफ्सा की वजह से हम जो है डॉक्टर सुहेल को, मेरे को वो मतलब शाम याद है. मैं कई बार उसको याद करती हूँ तो मुझे मतलब बड़ी अजीब सी शाम थी. और उज़मा के साथ जब वो कनेक्शन बनता है ना उस बारे में, तो फिर बहुत कुछ याद आ जाता है. तो अब मैं उसको नहीं छेड़ती. अब हफ्सा है नहीं तो मैं गीता जी को बोलूंगी. गीता जी सिर्फ 2 मिनट के लिए मुझे पता है आपके पास भी बहुत भंडार होता है आपका बोलने का, लेकिन
गीता जी अनम्यूट कर लीजिए.
अनम्यूट कर लीजिए प्लीज. तो सिर्फ 2 मिनट के लिए आपको मैं दूंगी बोलने के लिए. उसके बाद फिर उज़मा, मलिका ने कुछ अनाउंसमेंट करनी है या फिर उज़मा क्लोज कर देगी इसको. ठीक.
मैं बहुत खुश नसीब हूँ. हिंदी में बोलो,
जैसे मर्जी बोलो.
मैं कोशिश कर रही हूँ. मुझे तो उर्दू आती नहीं है, तो मैं बहुत खुश नसीब हूँ जो आपका इतना सुंदर सेशन मैंने सुना. ये बहुत जरूरी है. यहाँ पे आधे बच्चे तो ड्रग्स लेते हैं और वो सारा परिवार को तहस नहस कर देता है. मैं चाहती हूँ एवरीबडी शुड बी, सब कोई तंदुरुस्त रहे मन से और शरीर से, दोनों. ये दोनों चीज पैरेलल है. और हमारी कम्युनिकेशन गैप भी आई थिंक इज द कॉज ऑफ ऑल दिस मिजरी. सारे दुख का जो पहाड़ है जो हमारे ऊपर आ रहा है, ये कम्युनिकेशन गैप. आप टाइम दीजिए, बच्चों को टाइम दीजिए. हर एक कोई टाइम देना बहुत जरूरी है. एक मेंटर होना बहुत जरूरी है. हमारे इसमें टोस्ट मास्टर में मेंटर मैंने सुना है, पर मैं बहुत बच्चों की मेंटर भी हूँ. सारे बच्चे मेरे को आके बोलते हैं, घर की खबर डैडी पीट रहे हैं, वो मुझे बोलेंगे. ऐसा भी हुआ है. स्कूल में मम्मी टीचर है इसलिए उसको नंबर से पास कर रहे, जबकि वो पास ही नहीं हो सकता है. ऐसा भी करते हैं. तो ये सब चीज हमें करीब से देखना है. हम ऐसे खाए पिए सोए जानवर की तरह ये हमें शोभा नहीं देता है. हम इंसान हैं. इंसानियत ही हमारी मजहब है. मेरे लिए तो इंसानियत ही मजहब है, और बाकी किसी के लिए क्या है मुझे पता नहीं. और यदि हम इंसान होके रह सके तो हम सारी खुशियां बांट सकते हैं. कोई शत्रु हो, हम किसी को कहते हैं अरे ये तो पीटता है, अरे वो किस लिए पीटता है देखे ना, क्यों पीट रहा है, ये भी देखना चाहिए. हमें सबके अंदर जाके उसको सराहना देना चाहिए, उसको जीने का हक देना चाहिए. कम से कम इतना तो हम कर ही सकते ना. मैं ये सोचती हूँ जो हम सबको सभी से प्यार करना चाहिए, सभी को इज्जत देना चाहिए, चाहे वो इज्जत के काबिल हो या ना हो, उसमें कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. वो आस्ते आस्ते काबिल हो ही जाएगा.
बिल्कुल गीता जी, तो इस टॉपिक पे बात करेंगे.
बहुत खुश हूँ. आपने जो whatever you have said is really good and इसमें हम अमल करें. जो आसपास कोई नीडी है तो उसको हेल्प करें. इतना ही. थैंक
यू सो मच गीता जी. थैंक यू सो मच जी.
बहुत से लोगों ने हमें आज फर्स्ट टाइम ज्वाइन किया है, तो ये मैंने वेबसाइट लिखी है, प्लीज मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल की आप वेबसाइट पे जाइए, हमारे प्रोग्राम्स देखिए। हम लोगों के जूम पे बहुत प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं। अगर डॉक्टर खालिद उसमें नहीं भी है तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी आप लोग जरूर ज्वाइन करें और वो लिंक शेयर करें, हो सकता है किसी और के काम आ जाए। यहाँ जो इतने सारे लोग थे ये हमारे प्रोग्राम्स अटेंड करते हैं। थैंक यू एवरीवन, स्पेशली डॉक्टर खालिद सोहेल। आई नो कि आप अभी भी अपने क्लिनिक में बैठे हैं, आपने खाना नहीं खाया हुआ है, आप सुबह 8-9 बजे से इस चेयर पे बैठे हुए हैं, तो आपका हमने बहुत 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 टाइम लिया। मैंने इनसे कहा था 8 बजे खत्म हो जाएगा, आप फिक्र ही ना करें, बट हमेशा की तरह हम लोगों ने ज्यादा टाइम लिया। सबका बहुत शुक्रिया जो बैठे हैं, जो जुड़े हैं। मीता जी वहां से इंडिया से जुड़ी हुई हैं, जैसे नरिंदर जी की आंखें बिल्कुल बंद हो रही थी, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा नहीं मैं बैठती हूँ, मैं सुनती हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच। हम चाहेंगे कि आपकी एक्सपर्टीज जो है वो हम सबसे शेयर होती रहे। टिकटॉक का वर्दा ने शेयर किया है, आप लोग फॉलो कीजिए, बड़ी ज्ञान की बातें 2 मिनट में मिलेंगी आप लोगों को।
बहुत बहुत बढ़िया।
तो थैंक यू सो मच जी।